Welcome back to another episode of Azuro Reacts. I'm your boy Azuro, and today I got more of these videos, man. It's like they just keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming, keep coming. Of Black American Indians coming out and calling out Native Americans for trying to hide their history. Like, there's a lot. There's a lot. I ain't gonna lie. A couple of these, I believe, is AI, just from the look of it. But the story does tell them, like, have an open mind. On this channel, we have an open mind. We can discuss anything over here. And this is one of the discussions that I keep seeing that just keeps popping up. I'm not really interacting with the discussion because I know where I stand on that spectrum. But I am just like following it, looking, paying attention, just seeing what's going on. But anyway, let's go ahead and get in these videos.
Watch the natives that's doing these tribal dances. You can tell that they learn it using what's called the 1-2 step method, which is the same way you teach the hustle. It's the same way you teach square dancing. And every one of their moves is a scripted move because they learned how to do it. It's not natural to them. It's a learned behavior. But when you see them Crips sea walking and them Bloods be walking, then you know that's not scripted. It's coming from their soul. It's their culture being expressed in tribal dance. In Detroit, they jitting. In the South, they gigging. But they all got that fancy footwork. The tribal traditional dances that's coming forth because the DNA can't conceal who you are.
New Orleans second lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Indigos, indigos, calling all boots on the ground. Yeah. Aboriginals, originals, yeah, the real sheriff's back in town. Back in town. Fall back too close, you don't even know me. Trust ancestors from way back in the nosebleeds. We be Indians, yeah, they know they owe me. They owe me. Gotta stay select. Don't come round to me, better come correct. If we lions, then we lead. I'm in the high key set, yeah, hugging on a tree. Hugging on a tree, crystals on my wrist, yeah. Eyesight make no sense, yeah. Pop out for my meds, yeah. I go meditate, yeah. I be out in nature, earthing by the lake, yeah. Sun all in my face, yeah. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay, so I've had a lot of comments on the last post I made, just into a reference of what I'm actually talking about, so I'll get into that a little bit, and I'm in the pickup line to get my kid, so it'll save me some time and boredom. Alright, so what I know and what I've heard and just what I've seen is that the GOV is trying to say that birthright citizenships of Native Americans isn't a real thing, that we were not here, and so it's not all right just to be a citizen of America because now I'm hearing because we actually came from Siberia and we weren't always here. So that's what I'm getting at, is that there's a lot of different places I've heard, and right now up north people's reservations are getting split in half and some are being sent to Canada. How is that possible? I don't really know. Also, I'm from Oklahoma. My tribe's here, If they give me the option of deporting me and tell me, you pick where you want to go, I'll just do that, because this is all I've ever known. This is all my family's ever known. This is where we're from. So, I'm just giving the backstory of what that was about. The Siberia thing, I don't know. I'm just reading comments, and this is what everyone's saying is we weren't from here. We're not the first ones here. Okay, I wasn't here years and years and years ago, so I can't really tell you, but from, I don't know, just history in itself, I don't know where the hell we're all going to go. There's reservations all over this country. There's a lot of Native Americans everywhere. So if you're going to kick us all out, I don't know. And then I heard someone saying, well, don't go to Europe. If you get deported, don't go to Europe or something, because I don't even care to go to Europe. Shit, I'd go to, like, I don't know, somewhere fun. But anyways, that's what the backstory is on all this. I don't really have a firm understanding of whatever it is. I don't even like politics. They just cracked me up because they said I was going to get deported to Siberia, and that's hysterical to me. But so be it. I mean, turn up in Siberia, I guess. You know, all my natives are just going to meet me there. We're going to have a big old party in 49, you know? That's probably what we're going to do. But anyways, I hope that helps on some of the comments and confusion, because I'm just as confused. Shit, I don't know. But let me go get my kid, and I'll talk to y'all later. Hopefully figure this craziness out of what's going on in our country. But till then, see you next time.
What the hell is going on with my timeline? Recently, I just started seeing a bunch of Aboriginal Americans talking about their indigenous ancestry on my For You page, which I'm happy with, by the way, because before the TikTok ban, it was not showing me that. But tonight, I'm seeing a bunch of Black Americans pop up on my For You page talking crap about Aboriginal Americans being indigenous to the Americas, and just trying to like downplay everything that they be talking about. And I think that's crazy, considering how the people that you call yourself defending, the natives, don't give a fuck about you. The natives do not give a fuck about Black Americans. They don't give a fuck about Aboriginal Americans. They don't give a fuck about Black Americans. They don't give a fuck about Africans. They don't give a fuck. If you are not white or white adjacent, they don't give a fuck about you. Okay, and the thing is, most natives are mixed white people. They are heavily mixed with white. And y'all are on here defending these people. Why? I think the reality is that a lot of you crave proximity to whiteness, and y'all don't want to call things out when you know some BS is happening right in front of your eyes, because it would jeopardize you being in proximity to whiteness. And a lot of natives know that they are mixed white people. That's why they get mad when you call them white Indian, because they know that they're white pretending to be Indian. And this is the issue. A lot of y'all Black Americans think that by dick riding the natives that you're going to be cool with them, and you're not. Like, look how they treat freedmen people. Look at how they treat Afro-Indigenous people. Just look at how they treat darker skinned Indigenous people. They literally whitewash the photos of darker skinned Aboriginal Americans. Okay? And y'all really think that they care about solidarity with Black Americans when they are profiting and benefiting off of Black Americans not accepting or identifying with their indigenous heritage? Black Americans are being played, and y'all are willing to be played with, and think that you are doing the world a favor when you go against Aboriginal Americans, when we are the ones that are telling you how to research your ancestry and reclaim your identity. But a lot of you guys' rebuttal to that is, well, you think you indigenous, but wait till the cops pull you over. Like we're not already aware that we live in a colonized society run by envelopians, the envelope people. We very much know how the envelope people are and act. I mean, hello. We have been talking about ID alchemy for decades now. We are very aware of how the Mayo creatures think of us and think who we are. Okay? But the thing is, what y'all fail to realize is that the Envelopians do know who we are. They probably just won't say it out loud, or they just don't want to accept it. But that's not our problem. The issue is that many Black Americans want people to accept them. And they want people to accept them in a colonized ideology that was forced upon them. If you identify as Black American, you are accepting a social construct that was forced onto you and your ancestors. But you want to come to other people and tell them they are wrong for not submitting to a colonized ideology of themselves and their ancestors. That's insanity, boo-boo. And that is not our problem.
Ever wonder how a whole tribe signed a treaty in 1790, but vanished by 1870? Let me show you how Uncle Sam made them disappear on paper.
Your Honor, we present Exhibit N, Part 2. How do you erase a people without lifting a gun? You change their name in the record. These are the same families, same last names, same land. But once those treaties were signed, poof, no more tribe. Do not record Indian unless the person is of full blood. We must prevent those of mixed blood from claiming Indian identity. They gave one name to the treaty, another to the census, and told the world they were gone. But the truth, they were just rebranded. Paper genocide, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Hit that plus button so we can return their real names to the record.
I will not go back to Hispaniola to be treated like a prisoner nor peasant.
Me neither. Up. There go more beautiful land.
We'll bring prisoners here to build. Is this where we're being held?
Foreigners. We must warn the others.
Why are you here? We come to trade, peacefully. The Pale people go through you to me.
We are expelled from our land. We will keep peace.
We need more laborers.
Let's get some Indians, like Jotham in Haiti.
Good idea.
Come back! There's money to make!
You want war? You got war! You won't take ours!
Stop taking the Indians. Use Moors or bring in Guineans.
As you wish, King.
Just say the Indians are African Negroes or Moor captives from war. We cannot afford to sail, and the Indians know the soil. To capture as many, boost our production, and re-educate them to believe this land know their land, to bury the fight in them.
Why not get rid of them all?
We need their labor. Do not partake in your traditions, nor speak your Indian language here or anywhere to avoid trouble. If any Africans or Europeans brought here to work with you, don't get funny. I understand the Europeans caused you all to migrate from the far north plains. We will guarantee you some land. You Asians are now Indians under the protection of Spain. Protect this land we give you from Negroes and colonists.
Y'all remember how to identify, right? Teach your kids to avoid trouble.
I'm Paul, Yamasee descendant. My people were captured, but I must keep quiet. I'm Toto, from Angola. My ancestors were exiled from Europe.
You want to go to Africa or America with the others?
All of this land is almost ours. With the help of Asians and the Turks, the last rulers and their people will be exiled. And we will reconstruct all images on all lands, bringing our values and faith to the new world.
Your Honor, the defense would now like to call to the stand an unassuming but deadly witness, the county courthouse ledger. This ain't just ink and paper. This is where the crime was recorded in real time. See, after immigrants poured into Galveston in the mid-1800s, they weren't just handed land. They were handed names that had already been walked in, worked in, and watered by our ancestors. Here's how the hustle worked. Black and indigenous landholders, recently freed or surviving removal, were often illiterate and denied legal representation. Their land had no legal deed, just oral inheritance or tribal claim. New immigrants arrive with a clean slate and a handshake from the state. The clerk files a land deed under a familiar name: Green, Smith, Brown. Suddenly, a German immigrant named Heinrich Braun becomes Henry Brown, the rightful owner of 40 acres. And the kicker? Those old tribal names didn't just vanish. They were buried under new spellings, foreign phonetics, and white-sounding aliases. By the time the census man came knocking, the original family was listed as colored with no property, while the new Brown family had land, livestock, and legacy. The pen was deadlier than the whip. They didn't just change names, they changed who the law remembered. Hit that plus button so you can follow the case to the verdict. Your Honor, jury, they told us the ships only came this way, that our ancestors came packed in hulls, branded like cattle, from Africa to America. But what if I told you the ships were sailing in the other direction first? See, the receipts don't lie. Columbus wasn't just a discoverer, he was the first slave trafficker in the Americas. In 1495, he loaded over 500 indigenous people onto ships headed back to Spain. One royal decree after another authorized the export of so-called Indians to Europe, to the Azores, to the west coast of Africa. And get this, by 1600, historians like Andres Resendez confirm hundreds of thousands of indigenous souls had already been deported off this land. You ever wonder why Grandma's oral history said, "We was already here"? But the school book said, "You came from somewhere else." You were lied to. Indigenous names were erased. Survivors were reclassified as Negro, mulatto, or freedmen. They weren't lost. They were shipped, hidden, and renamed. Evidence A, Columbus's logs, 1495. Well-made and intelligent. They'd make good servants. Christopher Columbus. Evidence B, Spanish and Portuguese crown orders, 1500s to 1600s. Licenses issued to export Indians to Europe and Africa. Evidence C, Jesuit missionary letters. Tupi and Caribbean natives enslaved and trafficked out through Canary Islands and Madeira. Evidence D, Dr. Linford Fisher, Brown University, tracks reverse triangle trade. Indigenous Americans shipped out, while Africans were brought in. Evidence E, Portuguese Angola port records. Indigenous captives from Brazil documented in West African ports like Luanda and São Tomé. So I ask you, jury, who really got shipped where? And how many American-born ancestors were erased from your family tree under foreign names and fake maps? Hit that plus button so you can follow the case, because the evidence only gets louder from here. Your Honor, we now introduce auction records from Spain and Portugal. Receipts showing indigenous children sold like cattle. 11509 logbook from Seville lists 4 Indian children, 2 female, 2 male, ages 6 to 11 sold to noble families under the label training for servitude. But don't let the language fool you. These were auctions, with bidding, with pricing tiers based on skin tone, age, and physical strength. Eyewitness accounts from Spanish merchants describe markets in Lisbon, Valencia, and Barcelona filled with native children from the West. This ain't just exploitation, it's an economic system built on indigenous flesh. And let's be clear, this was all before the first enslaved African arrived in Virginia. Let that timeline slap the jury awake. Hit that plus button so you can follow the case. Because if our babies were price tagged before Jamestown, then the whole damn narrative is on trial.
We're in for a treat today, y'all. I looked up the slave manifest and I was looking it up for the black class status thing. And then I'm looking on a thing and I'm like, what? This thing says the ship manifest dated March 1st, 1860 lists 29 enslaved men, women, and children being shipped from Texas to Louisiana. This is why they outlawed the slave trade in 1810. They didn't need to import African slaves. They were taking indigenous people and enslaving them wherever the hell they wanted to, still within the United States. And we know Texas is indigenous because they weren't claimed until June 19th, 1860, whatever y'all celebrate Juneteenth. That is when indigenous Texas was taken as prisoners of war and put on the United States Census as black. And this is your slave trade. From Texas to Louisiana, they was taking people and enslaving them through the law the baby follows the belly. So these have to be American Indians. This is 1860. So in 1865, when we got freed, they're still American Indians. They're just put on the United States Census as prisoners of war, like the Emancipation Proclamation promised. If you still reside in rebel states, you now are the property of the United States, and we're going to put you on our census as prisoners of war. And that's how we got on the United States Census as black. Welcome home. Taking people from Texas to Louisiana and then telling them they came from Africa.
Okay, so truthfully, when was you Africans gonna tell us that your oral history, your oral traditions, was that your ancestors came across the great ocean? When was y'all gonna tell us that? When was you gonna tell us that your ancestors came from the West? When was y'all gonna tell us that? Huh? You Rubens, the Ghanaians, the Akan, the Benins, west of Africa, period, has oral history and teachings about their ancestors coming from somewhere else and settling in Africa. Why y'all wasn't gonna tell us this? Right, because that's crazy. It's the reason why we never followed you. You followed us. We the ancestors. Is that what you say? Now y'all know I went on ChatGPT because, honey, I need to find the answers. Honey, all West African traditions speaks about their people, their ancestors coming across the great ocean. What? That's crazy. And get this, it says that these Africans settled in Africa. They don't come from Africa though. Like the Africans themselves? That's crazy. It's crazy.
Now, when these great blackheads were first found in 1862, the Mexican, the European, and the American archaeologists said, well, these just happened to be slaves who were blown overseas and they made statues of them. But yet the local people there, the native people, referred to those as black kings, sometimes as African kings. Also, if you have a slave, you're not going to create this huge, magnificent monument to someone that's the lowest part of society. You only create giant monuments to your most important people in society. On top of that, all of these great heads that were found were not just laying out in the open. They had been ritually buried with reverence, which means that they probably were great monuments at one time, and that there was a period of mourning, and then they were ritually buried, so that you interred the greatness of this person. To give you an idea how magnificent these stone heads are, I should mention one thing before I forget too. The archaeologists say, oh no, they don't represent black Africans at all. They represent a kind of Indians. But they resemble, as you'll see in the slides here tonight, nothing resembling Native American Indians. On top of that, they are all crafted out of black basalt. And in other words, the basalt was chosen specifically to represent a black person, someone with black skin.
Now, they tell us the Mayans disappeared because they can't find none of their fucking bones. But let me remind you that you can go to any motherfucking museum anywhere in the world and they got a whole 62-foot dinosaur 5 billion goddamn years ago.
Like I said, some of them probably are AI. Because some of those look AI, definitely. But, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And for me, I truly believe that black people truly did populate this world before any other race. Because we was here before any other race. So, I honestly believe that, you know, with everyone coming from the first African mother, those people who was on that land first would have had to been black before they evolved to any other race that they evolved into. Like how they evolved into Caucasians because they didn't have sunlight, and Mongolians because of the weather and shit like that. Like they would have had to been black first. So yeah, this just got me wild. Like seeing that lady say that Native Americans come from Alaska, it's just like, what? I thought y'all was native to America. So does that mean American Indians are the true aboriginal people to this land? And y'all just been gaslighting? Like, that's crazy. If that's the case, that's some nasty work. You already know. You already know I have to say it. If that's true, that's some nasty work. Man. But hey, I'm your boy Azrael. This has been another episode of Azrael Reacts, and I'll check you guys on the next one. Deuces.